there's four sequels so far to this
Yeah.
movie.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, some people, as I think we sort of joked about this earlier, but a lot of fans, especially of our age, our
Yeah.
vintage,
Hmm.
consider that there's only three Indiana Jones movies, and the other two don't really count. I mean, of
Yeah.
course they do.
Mm.
I mean, if they, yeah, they do. They made two more movies. You might not like
They
them,
did,
but they
yeah.
do
So
exist, and they are
there
Indiana
are,
Jones movies. There's
yeah,
Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. There's Indiana
Doom,
Jones and the Last Crusade.
Crusade,
Indiana Jones and the
Jones,
clunky title. What's it called? Indiana
um,
Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, I think it's
Gold,
called.
yeah. Hmm.
And what's the most recent one? Indiana Jones and the Dial of
Jones,
Destiny, which only
that's
came out a
it,
couple of years ago.
yeah.
Um,
Um,
you've seen all of them, I presume.
I've seen all five, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, me too.
And yeah, it's quite interesting, and I've got a couple of I've got my own sort of like theories about this, and I've heard
Okay.
other theories of why, particularly the last two movies were not as renowned as the first three,
Hmm.
and I think a couple of factors. First, there was a massive gap. I mean, Crystal
20
Skull
years
was when was Crystal
almost.
Skull? Crystal Skull was what
2008, I think. Yeah, so 19
2008.
years of the previous one.
Okay,
Yeah,
so 19 years gap.
long
So
a generation
it's a
gap.
generational gap. So
Yeah.
obviously, when Crystal Skull came out, not a lot of people who went to see it were, in some ways, the younger kids. We'd all grown up, so it wasn't the same audience market. It was people that were in their 40s and 50s were going to see Crystal Skull rather than 10, 11, 12-year-olds like we were.
Mm.
So it was very much a different dynamic going to see the movie. So it was more, it's more for the fans. If you think about it, yeah, Crystal Skull was more for the fans. I mean, obviously they knew they were going to get a market of the kids. So, we would go and maybe take our kids to go and see
Yeah, yeah.
Indiana Jones and hoping that there'll be a continuation with that. And then obviously with um, Dial of Destiny, then you've got another sort of 18-year gap again,
15 years, I think.
15,
Yeah,
15
yeah.
year gap again.
Another long
So,
gap. Yeah.
um,
I mean, it's almost like Hollywood doesn't really know what it's doing.
well,
No.
the other
Uh,
thing as well, which this was me, but this was, I mean, I've heard other people mention this. I think this guy, Bullets and Blockbusters on YouTube came up with an interesting thought and theory that I hadn't really thought of before. But he was saying that with obviously there been such a long time, if you've got people that were trying to go to the cinema to see Dial of Destiny, they would have been about 3 years old when the previous film came out.
mhm.
So you didn't have a lot of people under the age of 30 going to see Dial of Destiny at the cinema or even Crystal Skull. So you were only getting people of our generation going to see it. Now, we grew up with the original 30, the original three movies. So we grew up knowing it as kids. And this is the same sort of thing when the prequels of Star Wars came out because there was such a
Yeah,
long gap.
good
There's
comparison.
this
Yeah.
high expectation of what it was going to be like. And you're either going to have it exactly the same, but it won't be the same because we're not the same. We're grown up now. We're no
Mm.
longer 10, 12, 15-year olds when we originally saw the film. So we're looking at it with adult eyes rather than children's eyes. You could have the film in the same setup, the same sort of dialogue, same sort of pacing, but it's going to feel different because we're different. The
Mm.
audience is different. We've grown up, we've changed, we modified.
And also
So,
another thing that compounds that problem, perhaps
mm,
from the point of view of the filmmakers or the studios, is that when you bring out something like Dial of Destiny, it's like it's coming out in an
mm,
era when streaming has become very popular, and
mm,
partly through necessity because of COVID and everything. Um, so by the time that comes out, 2023, I think it was,
yeah,
the sort of target audience of, like you say, younger kids aren't
mm,
really going to be interested. That Indiana Jones is something my
no,
dad or my
and
granddad even is interested in. But if the target audience then is people like us,
mm,
our generation perhaps is less inclined to go to the cinema at that point because well, because of the
Mm,
streaming boom. Why? I've got Disney Plus subscription. Why should I
yeah.
go and see it at the cinema? I can wait. Which is actually, I admit, what I did. I didn't see Dial of Destiny at the cinema. I watched it on Disney
Mm,
Plus,
no,
and not
I
not
did
not
go
out
to
of
the cinema.
spite or anything, but just because I thought, well,
Yeah.
that's low. That's low. I go because I go to the cinema a lot, but
Mm,
a film like that is low priority for me because, well, I can watch it on Disney Plus in a few months. Like
mm.
I'm not that bothered.
Um,
I'm not in much of a
I
rush
mean,
to see it.
so for instance, that aspect that I was talking about, the generational gap being too
Mm,
big a gap, is in some ways like my theory. But another thing that this other YouTuber was mentioning was the problem behind the scene. So what you've got to remember is when the first indie films came out, Lucas sort of contracted Spielberg to do three movies, to do
mhm.
three indie movies. And by the time Crusade was done, Spielberg was ready to go, right, that's it. I've
That's
left it.
it.
If you
That's the end of
notice
that. Yeah.
the last scene is them riding off into the
Into the
sunset.
sunset. Yeah, it's a total
Bye.
like
It's a
bye.
cut off.
That's the
I'm
end.
done with
Yeah,
this. I'm ready to move on with other things in
yeah.
my, because at that point he'd already been doing Empire Sun,
Color
um,
Purple, more
Color
grown up
Purple,
movies. Yeah, he
more
was about
grown
to
up
do
movies. He was
Schindler's
ready to
List
move
and
away from
yeah,
that type of movie. But of
yeah.
course, Lucas was like, "No, I want to do well. I want to do more. Want to do more." So, but so I think that's one of the reasons why there was such a big gap. Also, Harrison Ford. So
I,
there's three players in this as well. So Harrison Ford was nobody else can be Indy. I'm Indy.
mm,
So Harrison Ford wasn't going to let anybody else play Indiana Jones. So, and we have three battling things before another film could be made, which is why there was such a big gap
such a
between
long
three
gap.
and
Yeah,
four. Because, and the problem was, is what they should have done is Harrison Ford should have dropped it and they should have just recast it. They should have done what they did with Bond. If they'd done with Bond and just recasted it and made it got a different director in, because they didn't use all the same directors for Bond movies, they could move on. The other thing about Bond movies is whenever they could hit dry patches, they could relate back to the Ian Fleming books. There was always stuff in the original
yeah. There was a
stories.
source
There was
material to
source
draw
material
from.
you could bounce from.
Well,
But Indy was just being made up as they went along,
making up as they go.
making up as they go. So worked very well for the first three movies, but because there was a producer that wanted desperately to make extra movies, a director that didn't want to make the movies,
Mm,
and an actor who was insistent and playing the role, there was too much conflict between that. And yet, if Harrison Ford had allowed it to be recast, like Bond did, you could have got different director to make three
mm.
or four. I think they could have been completely different, and they could have rescued, the what's the word I'm looking for? Franchise.
Yeah,
Um,
although there is a sort of I don't know corollary maybe to that, or another way of looking at it, which is that what that because I mean specifically because Harrison Ford, if what you
mm,
say is true, that Harrison Ford is kind of like was insistent that nobody else could play the role, or that he,
mm.
if we're making it,
Well,
if they're making
he's
an Indiana Jones
quoted as
movie,
saying, "I am indie."
yeah, he's okay. So if that being the case, then
Mm,
by necessity, the character therefore has to age on screen because
yeah,
Harrison Ford did these movies in his 40s, the original trilogy in his 40s or late
yeah.
30s to mid 40s, whatever. So then when he comes back 20 years later, he's in his 60s. Another
Late
15 years
60s
later,
is
he's in his
70. It
80s.
was late 60s
I think it was
with
six. I think it was
Crystal Skull.
66 when he did. Yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
65, 66.
Mm.
So
And
then
then he was
come
at
around
eighty.
Dial of Destiny is 80.
Yeah.
So okay, so if no one else can play Indy, then when you don't want to play the character anymore,
Mm.
that's it.
Yeah. So
And I mean, which brings in the whole question of, well, the whole endless franchises thing. I mean, is that maybe that's okay? Maybe it's okay if
mm.
nobody else, if there's no more Indiana Jones movies once
Because
Harrison Ford really decides
yeah,
he's had enough.
because I was thinking this like after Crusade had done, and then obviously they started the Chronicles of Indiana Jones, the
Oh, the TV series, yeah, which is an
TV series,
interesting.
and that was a good
So
because I
somebody
always
else, where
thought
somebody else played Indy.
someone, and I always thought River Phoenix, yeah, he's going to be a comedian, and then unfortunately, bit of a
Well,
sadly.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
we've
also,
talked about this
they wouldn't have
previously.
cast him in the TV show at that point because his career was.
Yeah.
I think the TV show was before he died, wasn't it? It started before he
Yes. Yeah.
died.
Yeah.
So he was
Exactly.
by that point
Mm.
already. He's a movie star
I think
or
he probably
incipient movie
was
star.
thought of because obviously he
I'm sure. Oh,
played
they
the
would
earlier
have.
part anyway. It would have been perfect for him.
Yeah, they would have
So
tried to get him. I'm sure.
there
Yeah.
was obviously there was a a realization that you could get someone to play Indy and do prequels and like they did with the Chronicles, the TV series. So it could have happened, but obviously something was going on in the background that we didn't fully know about that stifled the movies progressing. And I think if something did happen in the 90s or the mid 90s, they could have rescued the franchise. But because there was such a big gap and there was then such a big hype and such a high expectation, it all fell flat on its face. You could have and in essence, if it's hard to do this, but and I did do this when I watched the prequels, the Star Wars prequels, because I was watching them with my nieces and nephews, and then some of the other Star Wars films with my son. There is a generational gap, and if you watch it through their eyes, they are good. But if you watch it through your own eyes, you've just got too high expectation because you've got too dark and rose-tinted spectacles, and it is never ever going to meet up to your expectations of when you watch something when you were 10 years old. It just won't. That's why when we watch Raiders now, we get that magic back because it's what we saw when we were 10.
I think. So I think
Sorry.
however you. I think no. I think however you. I think the sort of salutary lesson here
Mm.
seems to be, you know, maybe don't keep flogging these dead horses and, maybe
That
come up with a new idea.
Jurassic Just look at the
Jurassic this,
Jurassic
Jurassic
Park.
that,
That
Star Wars this,
forget
Star
it.
Wars that,
Stop
Marvel
flogging a
this,
dead,
Marvel that.
bloody dead horse. Yeah, that's why Marvel's
Yeah.
just falling flat on us. You've taken it too long. You've stretched it out too much.
I mean, it's a hard thing because like from a sort of there's always that again there's that conflict between the creative and the commercial sort of
Yeah, yeah.
impulses or impetuses or
Hmm.
whatever, because like the creative thing is like, well, obviously, when you've done Endgame, say for using the Marvel example, no, let's stick to the Indiana Jones.
Okay.
If you're talking about like, you've done Last Crusade, everyone rides off into the sunset, as you said, okay,
Hmm.
that's it, we draw a line under it. As a creative decision, that's perfect, that's it, we're
Yeah.
done.
There we go. Yeah.
But the commercial imperative is always like nipping at the heels, going, yeah, but we can bring
Mm.
him back, and they
Okay,
could do
make
another
it
one.
this.
Harrison
Yeah.
Ford's still in pretty good shape for his age. The correct answer to that creatively is fuck you.
Hmm.
The commercial answer is like, oh, look at all those zeros on that check they're offering me.
Mm.
Chris Tarrant, well, we don't want to give you that. We don't give you another couple of zeros. You
Mm.
can't. It's we're talking about Hollywood here. The
Yeah.
commercial imperative is always going to trump the creative imperative. That's just the way because Hollywood
Well,
is a business.
because they control them. I mean, look at the Lord of the Rings franchise as
Well,
well. First three movies,
But Raiders of the
amazing,
Lost Ark,
brilliant.
Indiana Jones,
Yeah.
Star Wars, Marvel, Lord of the Rings, all of these
Yeah.
things, they all
Mm.
sprang from Hollywood. So they're all
Yes.
Hollywood,
Yeah.
they're all products of the Hollywood system. So
Hmm.
we
But at the
can't really,
beginning, you had that creative drive in the first place.
yeah,
Now you've
but
got the
still,
financial
yeah,
imperative
well,
taking over
yeah,
the creative. And that's
yes,
why it
but
doesn't work. That's why most
yeah,
franchise will always fall flat on their face because it's not the creators pushing, driving it. It's the money makers.
but the thing is, those creatives, they can't make the movie without money.
No, no,
So
true.
there's
Yeah.
at the very beginning, huge
But
amounts, especially the kind of movies we're talking about, which cost
mm,
hundreds of millions or whatever dollars
yeah.
to make.
Hmm.
There's always that. I'm not saying this is all right.
Mm,
I'm not trying to sort of. I'm just playing sort of devil's advocate, really. I'm just saying, look,
okay.
this is the reality of it.
Mm,
All of these things, these movie characters and these things that we love, that we grew up with as kids, they're all products of that same corporate imperative. They're
mm,
all part of that thing. So to sort of complain that, oh, why are they still making, it's kind of silly to still to sort of complain, wow, they're making all these start where they're flogging these dead horses. But and I complain about it. I'm not, I'm
mm,
not saying I'm immune to this, but you've always got to bear in mind that, these things sprung from that same
true,
even the
but
good films sprung, they were made in spite, if they're any good or
mm,
creative or interesting, it's kind of in spite of the corporate imperative that spawned them, not because of it. So I mean, which is not to say that you couldn't still make a good Indiana Jones film or a good Star Wars film if you're into that, or a good Marvel film,
mm.
whatever. They can still be done, but I think usually in Hollywood, if a good film is made, it's in spite of the system, not because of it.
No, no,
That's just the
true,
way Hollywood
and
is,
yeah,
and
but
always has been, and
that's what I'm
always
saying.
has
So
been. So
when you get
let's not get too bogged down in the idea that, there was a golden age in the past.
the other thing as well, and yeah, in some way, I've got no evidence of this whatsoever. But if you think of, if someone's got a good story to tell, the creative industry is going to get behind it because they can see the benefit of it. They can see, yeah, we can take this, we can move this, let's create something really good out of this. When it's more
No,
money driven,
no, no. It's always about money. That's
well,
the
no, no,
point I'm making. They'll only give you
no,
the money to make it
you
if there's
seem
money to be made on it, on in it.
well,
Now,
exactly.
to
You
some
still
extent,
let me finish
what
the point I was trying to make.
okay, yeah,
Let me
okay,
finish
fine.
the point. All right. So, you take Indiana Jones itself, when they were trying to flog the idea, nobody was
Yeah,
taking it. They said they
I
were going
want
to
to do
do
a
it for
James
20
Bond type
million.
thing, but
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
exactly. So, yes, you needed the money to do it, but it had the creative spark. You can't create anything without the creative spark. And you're absolutely right.
The
You need the
filmmakers are
money.
creative, yes. The people in
Exactly.
charge of
That's
the
what I'm
money are
talking about.
not.
This is what I'm talking about. I'm
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about the beginning stages of any franchise, be it Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, whatever you're going to do. You've got to make that argument to say, we've got this really good idea, we're going to make it. Once you've then made shitloads of money, Return of the King, and you've done all the brilliant stuff of
Avengers Endgame,
of
whatever. Yeah,
Jamie and
yeah.
all the rest of it. Then obviously the money goes, yeah, look, we can't stop because this is too much for a money maker. The creative aspect of it is going, no, we've done this. We need to move on to something else. But obviously, the money making team are not
Mm.
interested in listening to that. So you get all the good directors and the good actors and the good writers going, no, you're trying to flog a dead horse here. I'm walking away. And then the money makers would just go, okay, we'll get someone else.
Let's rank the
Okay,
sequels.
yes,
All the
sequels.
Indiana Jones
All
films.
five. All
Okay, you go
five in
first from
order.
top to bottom in order. All
Okay,
five. Yes, you go first.
number one
Yes,
is Raiders. Okay.
of course.
Of course. Number two is Last Crusade.
Agreed.
Number three is Temple of Doom.
Agreed.
Number four in quality is Crystal Skull. And then five is um,
Dial of
uh,
Destiny.
Dial of Destiny.
I
Now, the
am in
reason the last two are in
60% agreement with you.
okay, the reason that the last two are in the order they came out with is because, well, um, I think what they tried to do with four was be very truthful to Indy. Like bits with the fridge, where he climbed into the fridge and the nuclear
Nuking the fridge.
explosion.
Yeah.
Yeah, nuking the fridge. And obviously there were lots of things that they just tried to keep like where the ants at the commandant guy. And so there was still keeping with the silliness of it, but also try and where they overuse CGI with the monkeys and all that
Oh,
sort of stuff.
yeah,
So
the Tarzan
there was a
bit and
lot
all
of
that. Yeah.
rubbish stuff that happened with it, but then they were just using the technology of the day. And to be honest, if
Yeah.
that
With-
technology existed
In the
when doing
80s.
Temple of Doom, they would have
Yeah.
done the same sort of thing.
Yeah, of course they would. Yeah.
So, because you can see it in Temple of Doom where they use blue screen on some of the scenes with the trolley, going through
Yeah.
in
I
the
mean,
mine area. So
having a go at 4 and 5 because of the shitty CGI is sort of missing the point, isn't it? It's
yeah,
like, yeah, because
exactly.
that's what they would have done in the
So if
original.
you're looking
Yeah.
at
Yeah. Fair point.
if you're looking at acting, editing, and shooting, which is well, and the writing, acting, and shooting, and editing is basically what a movie really is. You make a
Okay.
movie in three ways. You write it, you shoot it and act it, and then you edit it. And those are the
Okay.
three ways that a movie is made.
The basics,
The
the nuts
basics.
and bolts of filmmaking. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
So
gonna I'm gonna go ahead and disagree with you on the last two. I mean, I think I'm
Okay.
the same. The first three, Raiders, I think is the best one. Last Crusade is my second favorite. Temple of Doom. I mean, my problem with Temple of Doom has always been like, I mean, it's stupid. It's stupid. I feel kind of
Are
stupid
you going to
about
say
Temple of
because
Doom.
it's a kids' film?
No, 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 no.
No.
Whatever objections I have to Temple of Doom, it's not
Mm,
that they're. It's not that. Oh, it's a kids' film. I mean, they're all kind of kids' films. It's not
yeah.
that. That'd be a
Mm,
silly objection. I think, really, I think my problem with Temple of Doom was always like, again, it's again a silly thing. It's equally silly
mm,
thing to say about an Indiana Jones film. But my problem with Temple of Doom was like, okay, we were talking just now about nuking the fridge, right?
yeah.
And a lot of people had a problem with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull because, oh, he climbs into a fridge to escape a nuclear explosion and he survives. What a load of rubbish!
Mm,
And it's like, well, okay, maybe that is a load of rubbish, but what about the bit in Temple of Doom
mm,
where they jump out of a plane with a dinghy
yeah.
and they skid along some ice and then they fall off
Mm-hmm,
a cliff? They drop
mm-hmm,
about, I don't know, 200, 300 feet
yeah.
onto what onto like whitewater river
Yeah.
rocks and survive.
Mm,
Yeah. So if we're talking about realism,
yeah. Exactly. And
the
that's
Indiana Jones films aren't meant to be realistic.
no,
So
exactly.
having that objection against the Crystal Skull is
Which
kind of
is what
silly.
exactly that's just
There's
my
other things to have
which is my point.
to
So I
be
think
to
that
object to.
they tried to make Crystal Skull be as truthful to Indiana Jones movies as they possibly
Yeah,
could. It just
probably. I
felt
mean,
overly weird and wacky, and it didn't work with the CGI that they used in the film. So
okay,
mm,
let's leave the original trilogy alone because I think we're probably. I
yeah,
mean, I can kind of enjoy all five films to some extent or
yeah,
another.
cool. And even Dial
Raiders
of
is my
Destiny,
favorite.
yeah.
Last
Mm.
Crusade I enjoy because of the relationship between Indy and his
Yeah,
father.
yeah, it
Because
was a really interesting
the father
dynamic.
thing is like
Fantastic.
these
Yeah, brilliant
it's yeah it's
storytelling.
and Sean
Yeah.
Connery's fantastic in the role.
Yeah. Hmm.
Suddenly I remember my Charlemagne. It's great.
Mm,
That's my second favorite, obviously.
mm,
The floor is on fire. The third place is Temple of Doom, but I think four and five are kind of, I guess,
mm.
the received wisdom is that they're a long way back from the original trilogy, and that's probably
Yes.
fair enough.
Hmm.
I think I probably need to watch them both again, maybe a couple of times
Yeah, I
each.
would
But
agree. I've only
but
seen Dial of Destiny once, so
same
yeah.
here.
Mm.
But my initial thought was that I kind of prefer Dial of Destiny to Crystal Skull, and I'll tell you why.
Hmm. Okay.
I think I went to see Crystal Skull at the cinema, and
Mm.
I kind of enjoyed it. I thought it was okay.
Hmm.
There's things I
Yeah.
liked about it, there's things I wasn't so keen on, whatever. I didn't mind that, the Tarzan bit and whatever. I
Hmm.
didn't mind all that.
Mm.
It's silly, but it's in Indiana Jones. I didn't mind the alien stuff. It's
Mm.
whatever. Um, but I think with Dial of Destiny, I guess it's not a great movie, but there's things I like about it. I, I love the ending. I think
Mm.
what it is, Dial of
Yes.
Destiny, I love the ending.
No, I
I
agree.
love the idea, I guess, spoiler alert, if you
Hmm.
haven't seen Dial of Destiny, but I love the fact that at the end of what happens at the end of the movie
Mm.
is that Indiana Jones, a character that we now know very, very well indeed,
Mm.
he finds himself having traveled back in time
Mm.
to ancient Greece, isn't it?
Yep.
And he literally gets, this is a character who has spent his entire career trying his entire life time traveling in his mind,
Yes.
and he goes back, he gets to time travel
Oh,
for
yep.
real,
Hmm.
and he wants to stay there
Yes.
because
It just.
partly because he's getting old and he wants to maybe
Hmm.
live out the rest of his life in ancient Greece, and then is robbed of that opportunity. I just really like, there's something very
Yeah. No, no,
potent
I agree.
about that idea for
I
me. I
agree.
just thought that was
Yeah.
about the character, about there's
And
something, there's the
to be
truth about the
fair,
character about that.
that's why I'm torn between four and five because
Hmm.
with me, I think four they tried to make it as best they could as an emu, and I'm not saying they didn't do that with five. They did the same thing with five, but I'm 100% in agreement with you about the ending. The ending for
Hmm.
five is a brilliant capping of a franchise
At
because
the
I
very least,
thought
it's a great idea, isn't it,
it's a
of what to
great
do with the
idea
character?
because, of course, he doesn't want to leave. He knows
Hmm.
his days are numbered anyway, so it doesn't matter. And he's lost everything else. He's lost his wife, he's lost his son, he's lost his career. Everything's over. why not just give up here and live the rest of my days in ancient Greece, where I could just find out, how things actually happened, and in
And then
particular,
Fleabag knocks him out and drags him back.
which you're like, oh my God, why did you do that?
Yeah, why'd you do that?
But
You should have left him there. He would have
should have left him.
been.
And but the thing is you
Yeah,
can't, because it is that kind of
doesn't work like that.
cardinal sin of you. You can visit. It's like every time travel movie is that you shouldn't alter
You can't
history.
stay there. Yeah, you
You
got to go
can't
back.
stay
Yeah,
there. You shouldn't alter. And that's what I love, that little bit with the digital watch. That watch in Socrates had, the wrong watch on his
oh
wrist.
yeah.
That's just such a lovely telling thing of, no, it shouldn't. That's so, so wrong. Even though it's a brilliant clue, but it's oh so wrong. And yeah, it's so for me, actually, I really did enjoy Dial of Destiny. What I'm trying to say is, I know that what they did in their hearts with Fall was very truthful and trying to make a good indie film.
There's things I liked about four as well. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I
Yeah,
liked, I
exactly.
did like his relationship with the young
His
lad,
son.
who
Yeah,
was
yeah,
turned out to be
that
his
was
son.
great. And it sounded like
That
a
that scene
really
where he's
good
like, I
dynamic.
love the scene. There's a scene in that movie, I think, where they're in a diner,
Mm.
and the son,
Yes.
Shia
Yeah.
LaBeouf's character, I forget his name, Mutt. His
Mm.
name's Mutt,
Yeah.
and he's like, there's a scene where they're sort of sitting at the table, and he's like, they're talking about some whatever artifact. I can't remember what the MacGuffin is in the
Mm.
movie, but they're sitting there talking about it. And it's just a little moment where Mutt's all like being all like, yeah, I'm fucking
Mm.
tough, and Marlon Brando and all this shit,
Mm.
and Indy just sort of says to him, it doesn't say it, but he sort of, the way he
Mm.
acts is like, chill out, kid. You don't have to be a hard ass. Just look at this thing that we're trying to talk about. It's a lovely moment.
Yeah.
It's not a great movie, but there's things in the movie that I like, and there's things
Mm.
in, there's things. There are things in four and five that I like. I'm not going to just dismiss them out of hand,
No, no,
even
exactly.
though they are
Exactly.
exercises in profit, but
Mm.
and not much more. But except of course for the filmmakers, who I'm sure we're trying to make good films, and we I think we've drawn that
Yeah.
distinction earlier on.
Hmm.
So I mean, so yeah, I think, yeah, so we're almost the same. We're like one,
Mm.
three, two. You're
I,
four,
I
five.
would
I'm
I would
five,
put
four.
four. Yeah, I
But
think I would.
might it might be subject to change in my case. I need to watch
Me
them again,
too. I
perhaps.
mean, where you re-explained how brilliantly the ending of five is, I would totally agree with you. So,
Just the
yeah,
sort of thematic resonance of it, the
yeah,
idea of
exactly,
what it means
exactly.
for
And
the
I
character,
was,
I thought was really, I found that quite
I guess
moving.
if I'd
The rest of the movie can
revisit,
go hang,
if
but
I
the ending was
rewatched
great.
four and five, I probably would agree with you in the order,
Mm.
actually. So yeah,
Well, no, you don't have to agree with me. It's all right. We can disagree. We've
we
disagreed
generally do.
before, haven't we? No, we haven't. Yes, we have. No, we
Yeah.
haven't. Yes, we have.